Now we come to parallel computational complexity. Problem instances and their sizes matter. So let pi be a computational problem. In practice, we usually confront a particular instance of the problem pi. The instance is obtained from pi by replacing the variables in the definition of pi with actual data. Since this can be done in many ways, each way resulting in a different instance of pi, we see that the problem pi can be viewed as a set of all possible instances of pi. To each instance small pi of pi we can associate a natural number which we call the size of the instance pi and denote by size of pi. Informally, size of pi is roughly the amount of space needed to represent pi in some way accessible to the computer, and in practice depends on the problem, capital Pi. So basically the size of pi is roughly the amount of space needed to represent pi, which is an instance of the main problem pi. So for example, if we say that sort a given finite sequence of numbers, then the instance pi can be sort a certain numbers like 0, 9, 2, and there can be another instance which can be pi is equal to sort 1, 5, 7 or something like that. So in this case each of the values are different, and if suppose there is one instance of pi which says sort 092 and the other instance is sort 1573. So we have two instances and the size of pi in each is different. In the first case it is 3 and in the second case it is 4. Now in this case we have the instance sort 0927456 So in this instance the size is 8. Now the number of numbers to be sorted, so the size is actually the number of numbers which are to be sorted. However, in the case is n a prime number or is number something a prime number, in that case the size of pi will be 5. So since the number of bits in the binary representation of 17 is 5, so when the n is 17 for prime number calculation, the size will be 5. And if pi is a problem about graphs, then the size of the instance of pi is often defined as the number of nodes in the graph. Why do we need sizes? So as we examine how fast an algorithm A for a problem P is, we usually want to know how A's execution time depends on the size of instances of P that are input to A. More precisely, we want to find the function time of n. Why did we try to optimize our solutions when we were doing data structures and algorithms? Why did we want time to be less? Because we want our solution faster. So we call it optimized approach, and we wanted to know what is the time taken by this particular function or this particular program. This is a similar case. We have a function t of n by which we calculate what time is used by the computer to give us a solution. Now this value keeps on changing as we change the number of inputs, or whatever the value of inputs we are giving to the program. The value of t of n also changes. So we are mostly interested in the rate of growth of t of n, that is how quickly t of n grows when n grows. Now we can come to number of processing units versus size of problem instances. So the program P for solving pi and the computer C are with P number of processing units are basically understood using certain functions, or you can say using certain formulas. So we obtain parallel execution time T parallel of n, speed up S of n, and efficiency E of n of solving pi's instances of size n. So how do we calculate speed up? Speed up is nothing but time sequential upon time parallel. So t sequential upon t parallel. And what is efficiency? E is S upon P. P is the number of processing units. So we did this earlier also, and again we are doing this. So this is nothing, S is the speed up, E is the efficiency, and this is how we calculate it. So let us pick an arbitrary n and suppose that we are only interested in solving instances of pi whose size is n. Now if there are too few processing units in C, that is the P is too small, the potential parallelism in the program P will not be fully exploited during the execution of P on C, and this will reflect in low speed up S of P. So if there are very less processing units, so the speed up will be very low, and all the P will not be exploited properly. Similarly, if C has too many processing units and P is too large, some of the processing units will be sitting idly during the execution of program P, and again this will reflect in low speed up of P. Now the second point is we examine how quickly f of n can grow as n grows. Suppose that f of n grows exponentially. Well, researchers have proved that if there are exponentially many processing units in a parallel computer, then this necessarily incurs long communication paths between some of them. So we don't want that also. We don't want long communication paths between the processing units. Since some communicating processing units become exponentially distant from each other, the communication times between them increase correspondingly and eventually blemish the theoretical achievable speed up. So I'm sorry. We don't want that also, that the difference between the processing units is too much, because that will take a lot of time and we won't get our desired speed up. So the reason for all of that is essentially in our real three-dimensional space, because each processing unit and each communication link occupies some non-zero volume of space, and the diameter of the smallest sphere containing exponentially many processing units and communication links is also exponential. So we have f of n, which is poly of n, and consequently the number of processing units. So P is equal to poly of n, and f of n is also equal to poly of n. So poly is nothing but a polynomial function of n. Now here we discard polynomial functions of unreasonably large degrees like n to the power 100, and we are hoping for much lower degrees such as 2, 3, 4 and so on, which will yield realistic and affordable number of processing units which should be there in our system. Then this will be all for this video. Thank you for watching.